Hi, Pam.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. I'm just on the other end, working through some technical difficulties. We had to change our account around, so I'm
That's fun.
just gonna hold for just a moment.
No problem.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Wasn't sure.
Hey there.
Hayden.
Okay, we are all set to roll.
Awesome. We're almost there.
Yep, almost there. Everyone looks good. We can hear everyone okay. So we have everyone logged in as Pam. So I'll just...
Oh, I was like, why is everybody me?
I think it's because you shared the same link.
I did.
Okay, so I believe you can change your name if you just hover over yourself. Okay, perfect.
I think if you click on the 3 dots next to your name.
Yes, yep, that should work. Or in the top right-hand corner, there's if you hover over that, there's like a mute button or the 3 dots. Okay.
You guys aren't seeing my video right now, eh?
Pardon?
No, eh? All right, let's try reconnecting this. Aha.
Aha, there you are.
There we go. Hello.
Hello.
So I think I shared my screen. Can you only see the presentation or can you see my speaker notes?
I can only see the presentation.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
Oops. I'm just going to fix my speaking notes really quick.
You guys have all the nice mics and I've got these big headset.
This morning, Mark Coulter and Aurelia had just little earbuds, so.
Oh, nice.
Oh yes, the little AirPods, those are handy.
Yeah.
Right, just gonna change my speaking notes really quick so that our last names match. Elizabeth Huss.
What should I put? I should rename myself again.
Oops. And Elizabeth, you are from the Ministry of
Labor, Training, and Skills Development. Try to say that fast.
Labor, Training, and Skills Development.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
They renamed us this year. So you might catch me still saying me in the Ministry of Labor sometimes.
Can't falter for that.
I know, it's a habit, right?
Yeah, such a nice ring to it before.
I know, now like you have to answer the phone saying that. I'm like, really?
Wow, that's long.
It is.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so your presentation looks great. We can hear everyone, we can see everyone okay. We are currently in practice mode. So in about 9 minutes, we'll go live. And I'll just welcome people on. You won't see me, we'll just see all of you guys. And so Pam, I kind of quickly introduce each of you. And then after that, I thank you all, and then I turn it over to Pam, and then you can give Aiden and Elizabeth proper introductions if you'd like. We are recording this session, and it will be made available on our website, which is great.
Perfect. The only thing we ask with that is that it doesn't stay up there forever. So like when pandemic 2030 hits and they go back and they look at this, you know, we don't want somebody to find it thinking it's current information.
Okay.
I start out by telling everybody that this is current as of today, July 7th,
Okay.
and that everything is fluid and changing, and that it's
Thank
really
you.
important that they watch their, you know, local media and follow along with the local medical officer of health, and all of those things are changing constantly. So the information we're giving is current as of today, and they need to stay up to date as it keeps changing.
Great. So would you say, you know, keep the link on for a week, 2 weeks?
What would be normal for you, or Elizabeth, do you have any needs around that?
It's just things do change rapidly. So like right now, like you guys know what's coming tomorrow, the masking.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe within.
Nothing we say really wouldn't be right. Like we talk about the presentation talks about the hierarchy of controls. So nothing, nothing's going to be wrong. And we try not to say specifically, this is the law today, but talking about all of the controls.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think a few weeks for sure. And unless, you know, like if something all of a sudden crazy changes, then we would certainly say, hey, please pull it down because something.
Sure. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
We're totally flexible. The other question I wanted to bring up, and I believe, Pam, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, but holiday brain. Will you be facilitating the question and answers? Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I should be able to see them if they pop up and they're a good spot that we'll answer them. Otherwise, we can hold for the end.
Okay.
This morning we did this session and we ran just a couple minutes over the 1 hour mark. But I think the reason was because we started late.
Okay.
It's pretty close to the 1 hour. So
Okay. No
we should
worries.
be good. Lisa Dupuis should be joining us as well as a panelist.
Okay.
Yeah, she just sent us an email saying that she was getting an error message.
Oh,
You might have to send her the new link.
I thought I did. Aiden, can you forward her the email that I just sent to you? Sorry, I'm disconnected from the VPN.
No, that's all good. I'm sending it to her right now.
Thanks.
And like, does when we're speaking, our faces still show the whole time?
I'm going to try and control it so that it's only the speaker. Actually, maybe we can test that now. So I'm going to turn my camera off and we'll kind of do like a practice session. Okay. So Pam, it'll probably be you for the first.
Yep, I start and then it goes to Aiden, if that helps you.
Okay.
And then it'll go to Elizabeth. And I'll prompt you, Elizabeth, when your slides are coming next.
Thanks.
Okay.
And then after Elizabeth will be Lisa.
Okay.
And then it will be me.
Great. So what you should see on the screen right now is
Oh, you know what? I said after Aiden was Elizabeth, but after Aiden is me and then Elizabeth, sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so it goes Pam, Aiden,
Pam.
Pam, Elizabeth, Pam, Lisa, and then Pam.
Pam, Aiden, Pam, Elizabeth, Lisa, Pam.
Lisa, Pam. Okay, great. So what you should see on your screen right now is your presentation and just Pam's screen. Does everyone see that?
I see myself and Aiden as well.
I do too.
Yeah, I see myself.
Okay.
I think I set it up for based on how you pick or how you want your videos to be displayed.
Okay. Okay, I see that. The other option that we can do is there's a start and stop video at the bottom left-hand corner. You could stop your video, and then when you know when you're about to speak, you can start your video, and we can just kind of stop and start. Or we can just stay on. It's totally up to you.
Sounds good.
Okay. Wonderful. So
Okay.
we'll start in about 4 minutes.
Perfect. Aiden, do you hear from Lisa? Did you hear from her?
No email back from her just yet. Do you want me to sign off here and give her a call?
No, I'm sure she's coming.
She just, oh, she says that's the link I'm using. Also tried another link, but says waiting for host to open. So she's not using the panelist link.
Okay. I can move her over when we start.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll let her know that.
So these are going really well. We did Aurelia this morning. We have Sudbury this afternoon. Next week we have Timmins. And Al can't do it with us, so Sylvie's going to do it with us. And then we have Amalgwin. I'm going to have to learn how to say that. What's that?
Almagwin?
Almagwin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. With Sylvie, and we're working on one for Huntsville.
Oh, wow. Where's Almagwin?
I think it is just south of North Bay.
Okay. So it's not North Bay, it's Almagwin. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
I
okay.
think it's like Burke's Falls maybe, and
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
yeah.
And how many people do you approximately have on these calls?
Around the same, kind of like the 20 to 30.
Okay.
I think this morning we had 17.
Okay, that's a good number. It's
Yeah.
also a tough week because I feel like everyone's coming back from holidays.
Yeah, I think every week is a tough week. Summer.
For sure, absolutely.
And the weather's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That helps.
Okay, great. We'll open up the floor in just about 2 minutes.
Great.
So this sounds okay if I say we're honored to have Pam. How do I pronounce your last name? Is it Patry or?
Yep,
Okay.
Patry.
You would think I would know how to pronounce last names given mine. All right, so we're so honored to have Pam Patry, Health and Safety Consultant, and Aidan Robertson with Workplace Safety and Prevention Services, WSPS, and Elizabeth Husk, Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, as well as Lisa Dupuis from WSIB here with us today.
Perfect.
That's a mouthful, but we'll get through it. Awesome. Yeah, I am terrible with last names. And like I said, you would think with mine, I would just, I'd have no problem with, the easier ones, but that's not the case. All right.
Aiden, this morning, could you hear my kids yelling around?
Nope.
No? Perfect. They've gone out now. They're gone for the day, but this morning I heard them.
I was on the phone with Ilya, and he's like, I like 3 doors locked, and somehow my daughter's outside this door.
Okay, I'm going to open up the floor now, and I'll just sort of welcome people as they come in.
Great.
And we'll start at about 2:32.
Great, thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the call today. We'll begin in 2 minutes. Thanks for signing on. We'll begin at 2:32. everyone. Thank you for signing on. We'll begin shortly. Thanks for joining us today. We'll begin in just a moment. Wonderful. We'll get started and we'll let a couple more people sign on. So hello and welcome to Chamber Live, Safety Insights for Getting Back to Business During COVID-19. My name is Kaylee Worski and I am the event coordinator at the Greater Sudbury Chamber of Commerce. I would like to thank our presenting sponsor, Eastlink. Eastlink is happy to be sponsoring the Chamber Live series designed to help support businesses by providing the opportunity to learn and network with other entrepreneurs. Thank you, Eastlink, for your continued support. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that today's Chamber Live will be recorded and will be made available under the resource section on our website. We would also like to encourage you to use the Q&A box to ask any questions during this presentation to be answered towards the end. We're so honored to have Pam Patry, Health and Safety Consultant, and Aidan Robertson with the Workplace Safety and Prevention Service, WSPS, and Elizabeth Husk, Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, as well as Lisa Dupuis from WSIB. Thank you for being here today. I'll now turn it over to you, Pam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody, and thank you to Eastlink for helping to host this event. We're really excited to share some safety insights with you about getting back to business during COVID-19. Today I'm joined with Aidan Robertson from WSPS, a health and safety consultant, as well as Elizabeth Husk from the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, MLTSD, as well as soon we're going to have Lisa Dupuis with us from WSIB, having a bit of technical, so we're looking forward to seeing her soon. So welcome to the session. As we get started, I just want to share with you that the presentation that we're providing you today is current as of today. This is the information that we know as of July 7th, 2020. And so we know that during COVID-19 and this pandemic, things are moving very quickly and fluidly. And so it's very important that you continue to monitor your local media, the provincial government, the local medical officer of health, and the health unit information to ensure that the information that you are using is the most current and up to date, and that you're aware of any legislated or bylaw changes that may happen along the way. So, welcome, and we are going to get started. Workplace Safety and Prevention Services is a nonprofit organization in the province of Ontario, and we are committed to protecting Ontario workers and businesses and the health and safety within our province. We are a proud partner in the Ontario Occupational Health and Safety System, working with WSIB and the MLTSD. We offer health and safety expertise, consulting, training, and resources, many of which you will find for free on our website. And at the end of this, we will make sure that those resources are available for you through links that will be sent out through the Chamber of Commerce. So WSPS, our vision is that every worker is healthy and safe every day, whether that is from machines, from stress, or from COVID-19. We want to make sure that we have the skills and knowledge to keep our workers healthy and safe. So today's session, we're going to provide some insights into some safety issues that businesses are experiencing during this COVID-19 pandemic. We're going to talk about some recommendations for some safe work practices and controlling of hazards to keep your staff and the public safe while working during COVID-19. We will have some conversations with Elizabeth about inspectors and the Ministry of Labor, Training, Skills Development throughout this pandemic and how they are inspecting workplaces. And we will hear from Lisa Dupuis about the WSIB Excellence Program and some rebate opportunities for your continued work in health and safety. And then we'll take some questions at the end. So one of the first questions we often get is about legal obligations. And so employers have an obligation to protect workers from hazards in the workplace. And that comes through the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the regulations that are relevant to your workplace. As well, during this pandemic, we have directives that are coming from the Chief Medical Officer of Health for the province, as well as the Chief Medical Officer of Health here in Greater Sudbury. And then there's also pandemic response and civil protection acts that may come in place, and bylaws. So that's where we're going to make sure we're gathering all of our information about the decisions we make in our local businesses. If your workers have any concerns about their health and safety, they should first speak to their supervisor, followed by working with their Joint Health and Safety Committee and their health and safety rep to ensure that their concerns are addressed in the workplace. So now we're going to hand it over to Aidan, who's going to talk about how we use the RACE method, recognize, assess, control, and evaluate, in order to work with COVID-19.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody can see me and hear me okay here. It's nice to be, at least be seen, if not be able to see everybody else. So it's a little bit of something just for some social contact here, which is good. I appreciate you having us today, and I figure I'll take this couple minutes here. I'll give everybody, you know, a bit of a crash course in hazard recognition and hazard control, specific to the COVID-19 virus. So if you haven't already heard of the RACE methodology, so recognize, assess, control, and evaluate. If you haven't attended any sort of health and safety related course before, this is a concept that has been well ingrained in the health and safety field for a while now, and does apply to whatever hazard that you're dealing with, whether that's COVID, machine guarding, musculoskeletal disorders, what have you. So with regards to COVID, COVID-19 is a virus that is causing an outbreak. Understandably, if you haven't heard about it by now, that would be a very large surprise. Causing an outbreak of respiratory diseases, which range in severity, and that's one of the concerns with this. We don't necessarily know what causes people to have severe symptoms or asymptomatic or what have you. Our understanding right now is that the virus transmission is primarily through respiratory droplets during close, unprotected contact with an infected person, or by touching infected surfaces that have come in contact with someone who's infected, whether they're aware or not. And then touching your nose, eyes, or mouth. So this is why, again, we, as you know, early on, as the joke's going around, that, you know, it's amazing how much I never realized how much I touched with my face before. It really matters with respect to this hazard, because that is one of the main mechanisms of transmission for this. So in terms of recognizing where this hazard is present in the workplace, it's a bit different than what hazards you would normally consider in the regular context of your work. Looking at this one, we're really talking about kind of some healthcare principles here and looking for mechanisms of exposure. So how are people coming into contact with COVID-19 during works, whatever work activities those may be, whether being on a shop floor or dealing with customers or serving people at some sort of takeout area, what have you. And ultimately looking for those mechanisms of exposure or possible mechanisms of exposure, and then ultimately taking steps to minimize those or to prevent those from being able to occur. So keep progressing here. My apologies here. So in terms of assessing the risk, once you recognize, so if you can identify, you know, here are our mechanisms of exposure in the workplace, whether this is through shared equipment or via, you know, interactions with customers or clients or patients, what have you, you need to do a risk assessment. And this is much the same for any hazards. Not all hazards are created equal. We need to understand what is the likelihood of exposure to the hazard and what is the potential severity of those outcomes. So in terms of assessing the risk, we want to look at several different, you know, risks associated with COVID-19. So what is the risk of infection? Are there those mechanisms of exposure actually present in your workplace? Or is your workplace exempt from this? This is really important to understand. If you are continuing to operate as a business, what is the risk to credibility of your business if you continue to operate without any protective measures in place to both protect your own workers and any other community members that you may be coming in contact with with regards to your business activities? And also risk to financial viability here. And when we talk about that, we mean in terms of, you know what, if you're not taking these appropriate measures to protect your workers and the community as a business, that does absolutely you know, present risk to the financial and long-term viability of your business. So it is in your best interest to take some appropriate measures to help mitigate the risk to your workers and to the community to actually help your business survive in the long run here. So as we continue along here, my apologies. So, you know what? a risk assessment, we do this every day. We're pretty good at this as human beings. However, we do have some flaws in our standard approach to this, you know. So whether or not you know it every time you cross the road or drive out of your driveway, you know, a basic example here, you are doing some sort of risk assessment. The classic look both ways before you cross, because there can be very poor results if you don't assess the risk of danger associated with that. If you don't look to see, are there cars coming? Are there any, you know, animals out in the street? If you underestimate the risk and run into the road, there is a chance that either you could be hit or cause somebody to veer out of the way and cause a collision elsewhere. We do make split-second decisions. So in this case, you know, the image on screen here, say you pull out of your driveway, you hit the gas because you got somewhere to be, and then you see this on the road in front of you, and you make a split-second decision. Your brain is very good at this. You'll decide, oh my God, what is that? I'm going to get out of the way, or we have to continue forth. Where if we progress forward here, our split-second decisions aren't necessarily the most accurate all the time. So this is what was on the road there, whereas you may have thought it was a squirrel before. Kind of a silly example here, but just to show you that you may have looked at that and immediately been like, oh, yep, that's a squirrel. And in the context of driving, say you're speeding out of the driveway there, lo and behold, you have to make that split-second decision because you're already convinced yourself that it's a squirrel there. When it comes to COVID in the workplace, and to try and tie this back to this, it's important to do that at risk assessment and take a step back and try and look at things as objectively as possible. Look at the circumstances in your workplace, look at where these are, those mechanisms of exposure, and use some sort of risk assessment methodology, whether it's assessing likelihood and severity, to help you make an objective risk assessment, as opposed to just, you know, jumping in with both feet and making that risk assessment just on your gut reaction there. As we continue forward here, we look at in terms of, you know, once you've recognized where you've got mechanisms of exposure, you've identified, yes, you know what, there are some potential risks to our workers because of these mechanisms of exposure. You've got to decide what you want to do to control those mechanisms and prevent them from being able to happen. And again, if anybody's taken any sort of health and safety course with us or other providers before, this concept of the hierarchy of controls is well ingrained in the safety industry. When we talk about trying it as best as possible to eliminate hazards from a workplace as best as possible. And this can be done effectively with some hazards, and less effectively with things like COVID. In some circumstances, say COVID, you know what, we'll talk about some distancing methodologies, but we can eliminate potential mechanisms of exposure to the disease. Unfortunately, for a lot of businesses, though, that may not be an option. You still have to, you know, directly serve the public and provide the services that you do, and again, to keep the business alive. So you've got to work your way down this hierarchy of controls here to identify what are the best possible controls we can use for COVID, whether that is, you know, substitution, so replacing the hazard. Unfortunately, we can't necessarily just substitute in a less hazardous disease in these circumstances. But a lot of these, in terms of engineering controls, administrative controls, or PPE, are what we're seeing a lot of with regards to COVID. I come from a healthcare background. When we talk infection control, we talk, you know, distancing, hygiene, screening, and PPE. And you can see how those would directly tie to the hierarchy of controls here. So if we continue progressing through here, any control measures you're taking as a workplace to prevent the spread of COVID-19 should ultimately, again, be done in compliance with any of the requirements under the Occupational Health and Safety Act and its regulations, any emergency orders made under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, and any public health directives and guidance issued by Ontario's Chief Medical Officer and the Ministry of Health. As we continue on here, when we talk about, so in terms of eliminating exposure, I'll get into a couple options you may have and some things you may already be doing in your workplaces. If you are some workplaces that are looking to get up and running again, then these might be new to you. Again, if your workplaces have been working throughout this time, you may already be doing some of these, but again, this is kind of giving an overview of what is possible to do, working our way down the hierarchy of controls here. As I talked before, the best case scenario is trying to eliminate exposure altogether. And whether this is before employees or guests arriving at your workplace, there are a number of things you can do to avoid exposing people to COVID-19. Things like providing virtual meetings and virtual training. We've gotten really good at this. Case in point is how we're facilitating this session here today. Obviously, we would love to be doing this in person, but this is the next best thing. We can still host this event. We can still get this good information across in a virtual setting here. And as we all become more comfortable with virtual technologies, this becomes easier and easier as we're getting on here. In terms of eliminating exposure, importantly, things that we need to train people on and why these virtual meetings and training are so important, we need to make sure that workers are trained and effectively aware of how to wear and maintain the appropriate PPE, to keep surfaces and frequently touched equipment clean, and how to effectively communicate with customers. And from a training perspective, it's important that to make sure that, again, people get that appropriate level of hands-on training, and hands-on, I guess, in terms of quotations, right? Where there can be the type of training that can either be, indirectly observed through virtual methods, I show you, you show me type of methodology via virtual. And again, in terms of limiting exposure, this can also be done on site, where if you're, trying to train in terms of specific pieces of equipment, having somebody demonstrate, creating that distance and stepping forward to provide that feedback so somebody can still directly observe training, whatever that may be. Again, you need to consider hands-on training, especially for younger workers in particular, as they may be at higher risk for work-related injury, as they are less experienced with hazards in the workplace. And that quote-unquote hands-on training, that show me, is really critical for that particular group of employees. Continuing on here, common things that we're seeing in terms of eliminating exposure, promoting electronic orders and payment, things like curbside pickup. This is great for these brick and mortar institutions that can still stay up and running by offering this type of service. Requesting that employees, guests, and suppliers screen themselves for COVID symptoms before they plan to enter your business. Obviously, your business may not be screening customers yourselves, but you can promote things like the online screening tools that are available to encourage that they think twice before coming shopping with symptoms. Again, we're trying to create this awareness and this diligence piece. As we move forward in this, we're seeing different things come out, and again, be wary of ongoing updates from public health with respect to requirements to wear masks in public spaces. The one I can speak to is going shopping the other week for a chair to put in our nursery. That the institution we went into had a mandatory mask policy, and they asked that we put ours on, and we did, and go shopping. And we were actually there where they had to turn somebody away because of that they weren't willing to wear a mask in the store. And it is something that businesses are able to do. A little bit awkward, and again, everybody's gonna have to broach this on a case-by-case basis. But it is something that business can take steps towards doing. As we continue on here, so working towards in terms of separation, so again, creating this distance, we're seeing a lot of these, any place you've gone to likely has some sort of plexiglass or glass barriers up to prevent that direct contact, or where we can't maintain that distancing, that service needs to be provided, we're putting that barrier in between. So this is a form of engineering control that we can talk about. I will say one of the most interesting ones I've seen with regards to the barriers, a classic Northern Ontario problem, had to get a windshield chip repaired. Oddly, it's my first one, and everybody keeps making fun of me for it. But so the place there, they did a really ingenious thing, and they actually took some windshields that they had and just used those as barriers. And it actually served as great advertising for them to showcase, here's the products that we're putting forward, and here's how we're using those in a different way. So that was quite fun. In terms of redesigning, this is, again, kind of an engineering control, kind of an administrative control as well. You can reconfigure the layout of your workplace to promote distancing and remove that discretionary distancing, and actually, kind of herd people or control the flow of people throughout your institution or what have you. Things like reconfiguring lineups, the classic duct tape, and we've seen now the more formalized stickers and things on the floor indicating where to stand to create that 6-foot distance, indicating, entry points and dedicated exit points to manage that traffic flow, having sanitization stations at the front and entry point and exit point. Even something as simple as making sure there's warm water at sinks to make sure that any soap you're providing actually does get a good foam on, providing additional garbage cans, and other simple things like, if you don't already have the capacity for it, or if you do, promoting the use of touchless pay capability, and trying as best as possible not to handle cash, as that does directly contact multiple individuals. And even before COVID, cash has germs on it. And I'll hand back to Pam here to continue on with some of these other controls here.
So as we continue to move down the pyramid, the upside down pyramid of the hierarchy of control, the next one we're going to look at is administrative controls. So things like updating your health and safety policy. What are your safe work procedures? Do you have procedures around physical distancing? And how do you ensure that your workers are working at least 2 meters apart when possible? How do you encourage that? And is it written in your policies? This one here, as we said, this is an ever-changing. A few weeks ago, businesses weren't allowing people to bring reusable bags into their businesses for carrying out. But now we're seeing businesses allowing that. So what is your current policy? Do you allow for reusable bags? Do you have something around that that you're considering? Excuse me. Limiting the number of people in vehicles. How many, if you have staff that are traveling in vehicles together, how many people are in those vehicles, and what are you doing, and what are your policies around that? And what are your cleaning practices and frequencies for high touch areas and for the entire business? What are you doing, and what is the policy surrounding that? PPE requirements, supply and replacement. Do you have policies around that? We're going to talk specifically about those in a little bit, but making sure that you do have policies around requirements, supply, replacement, and training. First aid and emergency response. When we talk about first aid in Regulation 1101, have you re-looked at your first aid program in your organization? Do you have a policy? Your dedicated first aiders, are they comfortable? Have we looked into our first aid kits and made sure that those policies support this new environment that we're in? And finally, workplace harassment. It's really important right now to re-look at your workplace harassment policy. Is it dated and signed recently? Is it posted in your workplace for your workers? And are they aware and trained on your policies around workplace harassment? We're seeing an increased numbers of harassment happening in the workplace. As Aidan was talking about, if that individual going into that store and wanted to go in without their mask could result in a harassment sort of environment for your workers who are turning them away. So making sure that your policies and procedures and your staff are trained and comfortable in turning those customers away, as of tomorrow, Sudbury requiring face coverings in indoor public spaces. So making sure that your staff are comfortable with that is a really important policy that you need to make sure that your staff are trained and comfortable with. Other administrative policies to look at is your human resources policies. Are you doing screening of your staff pre-start or daily? Pre-start, we're looking at like if you had been shut down and now you're reopening, have you done some sort of screening of your staff? Do you have any isolation areas that you should be considering in your policies? Return to work and medical privacy. For example, if someone does test positive or come in contact with someone with symptoms, what are you as a business going to do about those issues? And have you created policies to shadow some of your other HR or health and safety policies in your workplace? Continuing on with administrative controls, we can look at scheduling. You know, your office and your store hours, are they shorter? Do you have more time for breaks, more opportunities for cleaning and sanitizing? Have you looked at scheduling if you're in a business setting where maybe not all of the staff have to be in on the same day going into their office? So some people maybe work Monday and some people maybe work Tuesday. So looking at some sort of split shift environment could be an opportunity for an administrative control as well. And cleaning and sanitizing. What is your frequency of cleaning and sanitizing in your business? Not just regular cleaning, but also the high touch areas, and making sure that all of that has been wiped down and documented as well is very important. With regards to signage, we are seeing more signs out there, less of the duct tape and more of the signage. Things like promoting physical distancing, reminding your customers in the store to maintain the 2 meters of separation, ensuring hand washing and sanitizing is available for your staff, and potentially allowing them more opportunities to take a moment or a break to go and hand sanitize or hand wash. As well as signage around harassment, having a sign up that says that harassment won't be tolerated, and looking at your policy is very important. And finally, shirts. We're starting to see, as businesses hand out new uniforms, now's a great time to have a shirt that says, you know, stay 2 meters away, or stay back to keep us safe, or whatever it is, the slogan that you want to use. But sometimes we start to become complacent, and sometimes we do start to forget about maintaining that 2 meters apart. So having a shirt or a sign to remind us certainly continues to put it forefront in our memory. And finally, with administrative controls, we're looking at hygiene. So hand washing and sanitizing, coughing and sneezing in the sleeve, or if it's in a tissue, that it goes into the garbage pail and hands are washed immediately followed. We're starting to find out more information about airflow and HVAC systems, but also just about having doors and windows open and being outside more. So I know where I work, we're looking at when we finally get to return to an office setting, that we're going to try and have outdoor meetings or walking meetings instead of sitting in the boardroom table. So is there an opportunity to open those doors and open those windows to increase the airflow within your business? Also looking at cleaning of cell phones and two-way radios. If radios are provided to staff or cell phones, what is your policy around cleaning those phones between use or those radios between use, and making sure that you're using a product that is safe for your devices, and making sure that our staff are trained in the cleaning of them when we're thinking about our WMS. And finally, making sure that our clothes are washed and cleaned to remove any droplets that may be on those clothes as well. So some resources that may help you administratively, thinkmentalhealth.ca is a great resource when we're talking about mental health. As we start to return to the workplace, and we're in phase 2 currently, some of your staff may not be comfortable yet. Maybe they still want to be working from home, or maybe they want the doors to be closed and just doing curbside. So they may not be as comfortable as you are, or everyone is in a different spot. So looking at thinkmentalhealth.ca to provide you some resources to help have those conversations with your staff about their own anxieties and mental health related to COVID-19 and this pandemic. Other resources would be Public Health Sudbury and District. They do have a COVID-19 website that provides you up-to-date information on local public health information. Health Canada, WSPS.ca has a ton of resources that we're going to send out to you that really will help to guide you in your reopening. Municipal, Township, and City Bylaw Department, as well as the Police and the Ministry of Labor Training and Skills Development, will all be great resources for you. So often PPE is where people start when they look to control hazards. But when we looked at that inverted triangle or pyramid, PPE is our last line of control, and it's the least effective because it requires your staff to use it correctly. It requires them to be trained and knowledgeable on how to do that, and it requires them to use it in the way that they're trained. So with regards to PPE, we do have face coverings. N95 respirators do require proper fit testing. And then we also have face coverings, which we know as of tomorrow, July 8th in Sudbury, will be required in indoor public spaces of a face covering. So we're learning more and again, watching for how things change within our own cities. Face shields and goggles, you do see face shields out there that have the plastic covering of the entire face, or goggles to cover the eyes. With regards to hands, are your staff using gloves? One thing I would say around gloves is making sure that they don't create any new hazards. We're going to talk about evaluation in a minute, but we want to make sure that by having gloves, that we're not creating new hazards with them getting caught or tangled in different machines. With the body, it could be aprons, and it's really important that we have PPE training on the fit, the use, the care, the cleaning, the replacement, and the limitations of the PPE that you as an employer are providing or requiring in your workplace. If you are having trouble sourcing PPE, you can visit www.ontario.ca/PPE, and there's lots of information about various locations that you can source PPE within our province. So once we have come through recognize, assess, and control, we end our RACE method with evaluate. So you need to look at the effectiveness of the preventative measures on an ongoing basis. You need to look at making adjustments and improvements based on how successful they have been, but also based on any changes with the virus or with legislated requirements. And you need to communicate to both your staff and your customers on the controls that you're putting into place to control this biological hazard. So WSPS.ca has some fantastic resources for you, including return to business checklists, a post-pandemic playbook that walks you through step-by-step how to return following the pandemic, We have visitor screening questionnaires. As well, you will find on our website the health and safety guidance documents that we've been hearing about over the last many weeks. I was going to say 6 weeks, the last many weeks from the Premier about the guidance documents related to health and safety. You will find the ones that are sector specific to WSPS on our website. Again, we will send you links at WSPS.ca. So now I'm going to hand it over to Elizabeth, who's going to talk a little bit about what some of the Ministry of Labour Training and Skills Development inspectors will be focusing on in the coming days, weeks.
Thanks, Pam. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Husk. I'm an Occupational Health and Safety Inspector with the Ministry of Labour Training and Skills Development, or we call it MLTSD for short, for the Sudbury District. Today, I've been asked to discuss types or typical questions an inspector may ask during a field visit regarding COVID-19. I just want to remind everybody that this is just general information being provided today and doesn't replace the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and it's not legal advice. And each visit conducted by an inspector from the Ministry of Labour Training Skills Development is dealt with on a case-by-case basis. So as you can see on the screen today, I'll be focusing on 7 main topics that a typical field visit will be focused on by the Ministry of Labour for COVID-19. One of them is information instruction for workers, the joint health and safety or health and safety representative involvement, if applicable, social and physical distancing measures in place, screening measures, cleaning, disinfecting, hand hygiene, and personal protective equipment or PPE. So the first topic, types of questions that will be asked for information instructions to a worker include what information or instructions have workers received about COVID-19? This includes what is COVID-19, what are the signs, symptoms, means of transmission, what the employer wants them to do if they have signs, symptoms, and how to return to work, and how is it going to be done safely. What are the employer's measures and procedures to prevent exposure to COVID-19 in the workplace, and have workers received information on this? So what specific instructions have workers received regarding the topics discussed here on the slide? So the Joint Health and Safety Committee and Health and Safety Rep, what have they been given as instructions? Social and physical distancing measures, screening measures, cleaning and disinfecting, hand hygiene, and PPE. So what has been provided to the workers? We also want to know how this information instruction are provided to workers. So what method are they giving this instructions to the workers? What's the frequency? What are the topics that were covered? So a lot of these questions will be asked, and we'll want to see if how the delivery information was there. So is there signage? Is there toolbox talks, emails? Do they use the internet, teleconferences, pre-shift debriefings? A lot of workplaces are using a mix of all of these. With regards to the Joint Health and Safety Committee or Health and Safety Representative, if it's applicable to the workplace, so depending on the number of your workers, we'll want to know what the involvement is with regards to the Joint Health and Safety Committee. Have they been involved in meetings for COVID-19? Are they being kept up to date on the information? And if so, what information and how? We also want to remind workplaces that meetings for the Joint Health and Safety Committee must still be taking place, even though it's we're in a pandemic, and monthly health and safety inspections by the Health and Safety Rep and the Joint Health and Safety Committee worker rep should still be taking place as well. So if there's a worker in the workplace, monthly inspections still need to be taking place, and it's acceptable, as already discussed by Pam, to have virtual meetings for your Joint Health and Safety Committee meetings if necessary. With regards to social and physical distancing measures at the workplace, is it possible to physical or social distance at the workplace? And if it's not, if distancing of approximate 2 meters cannot be maintained, what specific work activity, with the specific work activity, we'll want to know what the workplace is doing and precautions to consider. So basically, we want to know what the workplace is putting in place to prevent the worker from being exposed to another person within that distance. What precautions are being put in place? When the public has access to the workplace, an inspector will want to know if the employer has taken into consideration how they'll be interacting with the workers. So as discussed, Pam already discussed this about controls, so did Aiden. What are they putting in the workplace? Has the employer considered alternate work methods? Restriction on activities, sequencing and staggering of work shifts? What exactly is it in place? The employer will also want to know what the employer's done with regards to physical distancing and gatherings. So we're talking about lunch breaks, breaks in general, lockers, meeting rooms. What has the employer put in place? With regards to screening measures, is the workplace screening? Are they doing passive or active screening? These are questions we'll ask. We'll ask, is the workplace taking temperatures? If so, by what means? How? When? Where? Is there a policy on sending workers home for self-isolation if they have signs or symptoms? And is there a process to return to work? We'll also want to know who's screening, who is being screened, workers, visitors, essential visitors. How often are they screened? And what are the barriers and or distancing in place for the screeners? Is the screener wearing PPE? So are they wearing a gown, gloves, mask, face shield, glasses, goggles? Basically, we want to see what's in place. For cleaning and disinfecting, the typical type of questions we'll ask is what is being cleaned and disinfected and with what? For high-touch surfaces such as doorknobs, pin pads, handrails, etc., we'll want to know what methods are being used to clean and disinfect. How frequently? Is there a cleaning service coming in? Those types of questions. We'll also want to know what protocols for cleaning, what are the protocols for cleaning shared tools and equipment or materials or workstations? Is there a deep cleaning after suspected or positive COVID case or a person present in the workplace? What exactly is the workplace doing with regards to that? For hand hygiene, the types of questions that we'll typically ask are what means do the workers have for hand hygiene in the workplace, which may be in the form of soap and running water or an alcohol-based sanitizer. Make sure you note that if for heavily soiled hands, an alcohol-based sanitizer alone will not protect a worker and it must be used in conjunction with a hand cleaner. Have the workers been adequately trained in hand hygiene appropriate to their work? For personal protective equipment, we'll ask questions such as what PPE is available in the workplace, such as masks, N95s, gowns, gloves, face shields, or eye protection. How was the PPE selected? So we'll want to know if the PPE was determined by a risk assessment on the work being performed by the worker, or if it was just provided. We'll ask about the availability of PPE and if workers have access to the PPE. We want to make sure that there's a process to obtain and access replacement PPE. So if it becomes soiled and needs to be thrown out, how do they get replacement PPE? Have workers received information and instruction on the care, use, and limitation of PPE that they've been provided with? We'll also want to know, have workers received information and instruction on how to dispose of PPE, how to don and doff it properly and safely, and have workers know how to store or handle PPE during breaks. Also, with regards to PPE, if it's being reused. If so, if it is being reused, what is the cleaning and disinfecting procedure that's in place and followed before reuse is permitted? I don't know if you can go to the next slide for me, Pam. As a reminder, we want to make sure that everybody realizes, even though we're in a pandemic, the Ministry of Labor will still continue to enforce what we normally enforce. So the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the regulations that apply, health and safety awareness training, so Reg 297, WMIS, Reg 860, machine guarding, safe work practices. You still have to have safe work practices for any other hazard in the workplace. And as I already stated, make sure monthly inspections are taking place and all other applicable legislation.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth.
No problem.
So now we're able to go on and talk with Lisa Dupuis from the WSIB. She's going to share with you some information about the new WSIB Excellence Program and how your business may be able to take advantage of it. Lisa.
My video is hidden. Oh, there, okay. No, the host has stopped it.
Yep, she's gonna get you back.
Okay, there we are. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for having me. I'm Lisa Dupuis. I've been with the WSIB for 3 years now. I'm located just out of North Bay in Callander. However, I represent all of Northern Ontario from Orillia to Thunder Bay, and so I work very closely with the workplace WSPS, Pam and Aiden and a whole bunch of them. And so we are very happy to be able to offer you this webinar and this information today. So basically, the program, the Health and Safety Excellence Program, was launched in November of last year, so it's brand new. It essentially replaces our former safety groups program, Work Well, and the small business program that we had before. And essentially, in building this program, we needed to take the best of those three former programs and roll them into a new program while listening to employers and stakeholders in terms of what their needs are. So the program itself has 36 health and safety topics or elements, however you want to refer to them, to help that you can choose to help you build your health and safety program. And the whole premise of it is that you would work with a provider such as Pam or Aiden with the WSPS and work closely with them, and they would provide you with the resources and the templates and the time and just guidance so that you can develop your health and safety program and then submit the evidence for these topics, that you have these topics living and breathing in your workplace. You would then submit some evidence to WSIB and we would give you a rebate. So, which is always nice to get back from the board with all the premiums that you all pay. It's nice to get rebates back. They are substantial and a great thing that you can do to reinvest in your health and safety programs, especially at this time, as we know that money, especially, and time is of the essence right now for businesses. We have also, part of the program has been made pandemic ready, if you will. So there are specific links that you'll have access to on our website that will give you some different pathways and some different, I guess, if you will, suggested topics that you may want to focus on. If this is a program that you'd like to join, you're already working on an emergency response program or controlling the COVID-19 as a hazard, you might as well join the program, work on it with Pam or Aiden or another one of our providers. We do have others, but they're here today and I definitely want to promote their services. And while you work with your provider, you're actually developing your health and safety program to meet the requirements that Elizabeth spoke to you about. So it's kind of a win-win. It's, in my mind, a no-brainer. It means a little bit of extra time, but I will reassure you that at the bottom right-hand side, you'll see that box that says flexible program options. We have really made this program very easy. The evidence includes such things as video. Send us a photo of your postings, health and safety board, your board with all your postings. You could send us a video of one of your employees interviewing another one in terms of, or catching them in the act of doing something safe, preventing a hazard or an injury. There's so many great flexible options for you to provide to us to show that your topics that you're working on are living and breathing in your workplace. Next topic, please, or slide, please. So as mentioned, there are 36 topics. And when you join the program, you'll be asked to do a short assessment online. And that would be your provider will provide you with that link. So it's really made easy for you. But it's just a short assessment to find out kind of where you're at with your health and safety program. And so from there, the system will actually generate some suggested topics. You don't have to choose them. You can choose whatever topics from whichever level you want based on what your priorities are, what your needs are in your individual business. But we will provide you with some suggestions based on your level of experience in health and safety. So there are 3 building blocks, 3 levels, and at the top you'll see excellence and CPO. That stands for Chief Prevention Office with the Ministry of Labor, Training, Skills and Development. And that's just to let you know as employers that our program has been accredited and is recognized by the Ministry of Labor. So it's not like you're creating a program for WSIB and then a separate one for another organization. We are working in tandem, we are working in alignment and with the Safe Workplace Associations, such as WSPS, to make sure that you're doing the work once and that's it. We don't want you to have to do extra work and spend extra time on anything. Next slide. So as mentioned, there are some topics that we are highlighting on our website that are a little bit more COVID specific to help you maintain resiliency in your business, possibly sustainability, help you reopen. Maybe you're retooling or you've had to open up a whole new section or operation or a work location. Some of these topics might be a little bit more timely for you. The one I want to highlight is control of hazards. It's the only one of those 36 topics throughout the whole program that you can repeat as many times as you'd like for a different hazard each time. So you could choose control of hazards COVID-19. You could choose control of hazards slips and falls, control of hazards fall protection, whichever. So you can repeat that one each time for a different hazard, and each time you get a separate rebate, which I think is just fantastic. And as mentioned, the rebates are substantial. There's a minimum of $1,000 per topic, or up to 75% of your premiums. And we'll help you, Pam, Aiden, any of them would help you calculate what your potential rebate would be if you're interested in joining the program. So those are some of the other topics. Workplace health promotion, that's your really great psychological health and safety, a great way to assess and work on your employee wellness programs, and just show us how is that topic living and breathing in your workplace. There's so many different ways that you can demonstrate workplace health promotion. As mentioned, we do have some roadmaps that are a little bit more specific to small business, medium, large, and or if you're creating a new business operation. These roadmaps are on our website as well, and they just ask you suggested questions and give you some different topics if you want to follow a certain roadmap to kind of help you narrow down where to focus, okay? And I think I got one more. Next steps, you would email us, get a hold of Pam, Aiden, whomever you wish, for more information about selecting a provider and finding out about your rebate. And then you would register with an approved provider. A list is on our website as well. And then once you're registered and you are joined, you'll automatically get a member badge for joining the program. And that member badge can be proudly displayed in your letterhead, your e-signatures, on your website to demonstrate your commitment to health and safety and keeping your employees safe. I don't know if there's one more. Okay, I wasn't sure if that one was there. So lastly, WSIB does have some other resources on our website for you if you want to look up. There are some adjudicative approach documents in relation to COVID claims. There is some information about if you can't afford to pay your premiums right now, we have a deferral package to the end of August, and some other great online services that we have recently made the transition to online. No more emails, no more faxes. WSIB has joined the latest century, if you will. So I just want to thank you again for your time. I really hope that you will consider joining the Excellence Program and further developing your health and safety program and keeping everybody safe and your business resilient.
Thank you very much, Lisa. So
You're welcome.
as you can see with Elizabeth, Lisa, Aiden, and I, we all work together in a health and safety system. It's a system where we want to work together. We want to help you to create your health and safety system for your organization. And so anything that we can do to help you do that, we are available and willing to do that for you, and helping to get you a rebate from WSIB is a great opportunity as well. WSPS has a duty consultant who is available Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they're available to answer any urgent questions that you may have with regards to health and safety. However, Aiden and myself, as well as Clint, we all cover Northeastern Ontario, and we are available to support you as well throughout the Northeastern Ontario. So please feel free to reach out to us at any time. And we will make sure that we're able to get you the information and the resources that you need. We'll be sure to be sending you some of the links in an email following this session. So that concludes our information for you. I'm scanning the chat bar. I don't see any questions yet, but if there's any questions that anyone would like to ask, now is a great time that you have someone from MLTSD, WSIB, and your health and safety associations that are able to answer any COVID-related questions or other related questions to health and safety if you have them. Let's give it a minute to see if anyone types some questions in the box.
Quiet crowd today.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any.
All right, that's okay. Well,
Perfect.
as our time draws to an end, I'd like to thank Pam, Aiden, Elizabeth, and Lisa for being here today and sharing insight. I would also like to thank our attendees for their participation. We hope you found this webinar helpful. If you have any questions about how the Chamber can assist your business, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of our staff members. Their email addresses can be found on our website. The Chamber has also developed a COVID-19 resource page and reopening toolkit on our website to help inform you during this crisis. Visit sudburychamber.ca to learn more, and sudburychamber.ca under resources to find a recording of today's session. Please watch our social media feeds for more webinar topics in the coming weeks. And on behalf of the Chamber, thank you all for joining us, and thank you for your continued support. Have a great day.